So today's topic is cancer and Ayurveda. We'll start with little bit of history. When we have taken admission in first BMS way back in 1986. A patient of cancer coming to an Ayurvedic physician was a rarity. It is like a breaking news in these days, flashed on the media. And anyway, they are getting a patient of cancer for treatment. All the students going to other Vaidyas also will rush to his clinic, find out when the patient is again going to come up for follow-up, to get a glimpse of the patient of cancer. Those were the days. That is the rarity of cancer getting attention of Ayurvedic physicians, cancer patients coming to Ayurvedic physicians. My Guru Vaidya Gadgil sir, whom I just referred, got the opportunity to treat a cancer patient who was taken for operation on the table. The abdomen was open, but it was spread all over the abdomen and it was just closed down by the surgeons. They say that he is going to die within 15 days. We can't do anything. Somehow the patient's relative were Gadgil sir's patient and they brought the patient to him. And I have seen that patient survived for at least another 12 years. This case was treated by sir in 1985 and till I left Pune in 1996, he was okay. Now we can't say this as miracles. This is purely treated on Ayurvedic philosophy, logic and theories. And after that, sir started getting more number of patients. I got the opportunity to work under him. Different kind of patients, different rare types of cancers also coming to him for treatment. Later on, during my MD PG course, my guide with that Sapra Sardeshmukh sir, who is again has become a legendary figure in the treatment of cancer now. He had just started a cancer research project under his Ayurveda Rugnalaya and Samshodhan Kendra Wagholi, and we used to go there and help him in the research project. Some camps were held in Mumbai, Solapur. We have assisted in that also. And that has developed, at least myself has given me a more clear vision about cancer. In general public, the perception is cancer is a disease, but if you see to it from the medical point of view, it is not a disease but a group of disease, we can say. In technical terms, there are different terms being used, diagnosis being used, adenocarcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, etc. We used to hear this. Rhabdomyosarcoma, different names are being given. Collectively, the perception of the society is these are all cancers of different systems. Now, if the modern medicine has done a tremendous progress in the treatment of cancer, we should appreciate that. Go to the next slide. Cancer, a topic itself or a disease itself, has emerged as a challenge to the medical field. Every day, new clinical presentations, conditions are coming forward, which requires to be dealt with by the physicians or surgeons for that matter. The society have increasing belief in Ayurveda that Ayurveda can give answers to these problems, these health problems. So society is looking upon Ayurvedic physicians with great hope and tremendous faith. Now it is up to the Ayurvedic fraternity to live up to the challenge, to stand up to the challenge. And for all that, today if you see this practice scenario, things are changing for the better. Now a Ayurvedic doctor just started with practicing. Immediately within 1 or 2 months of his practice also can get a patient of cancer for treatment. The things have changed. Now there are more opportunities for Ayurvedic Vaidyas to treat different kind of cancers than that was on offer for the last generation. So in a way we are lucky, and in a way we are placed in a challenging situation because we don't have that much clinical experience in the initial phases of our practice, but still we have to treat. Patient comes to you as a last resort many times. I always say, I give this example to while teaching also, that ours is the last bungalow in the colony, and after that there is a river flowing aside. If you don't treat the patient, he is going to suicide in that river. With that intention, patient comes to you, doctor, this is my last resort, you save me or make me die. And many cases of cancer also comes to Ayurvedic Vaidyas with these intentions. So for you there is no escape route. I can't treat, my clinical experience is very less. This can't be the case. You have to treat with whatever clinical experience you have. That means we have to develop our understanding of the clinical conditions that are coming before us as cancers on Ayurvedic guidelines or Ayurvedic basic fundamentals. I remind one story told by Vaidya Bhapu Nanal sir. When we were in first or second year of BMS, that means 87, 88 असेल, one of the professor from Ayurved college in Pune, reputed Ayurved college from Pune, suffered from acute myeloid leukemia, and the lifespan given to him was maybe maximum 3 months. He started taking treatment with Vaidya Bhapu Nanal sir. He was already a reputed figure in Ayurved at that time also, internationally reputed. But after treating this case and with the success of this case, he started getting overwhelming response of the patient coming to him for cancer treatment. And when he presented a paper in the first international conference on Ayurveda in Pune in around 2000, year 2000, he has come out with a data of 7,500 cases treated by him over that 10 or 11 years. And he was talking about 17 different possible diagnoses from Ayurvedic point of view of those types of cancers. Now you may add to the list. This is his presentation in the year 2000. Now we have 16 years past to that. One foreign student who had come to India to learn Ayurveda came to him and asked his permission for interviewing him. Initially he was not ready. Somehow she persisted with and he got ready. And she set the video camera, etc. And asked the first question. And the interview stopped there only. What was the question? The question was, do you treat cancer? He said no. Shut down your camera and the interview is over. Because I am not going to give you populist answers that I treat cancer and all. Because I don't treat cancer. Then his explanation was praiseworthy. So what you treat? I treat the condition according to Ayurvedic diagnostic principles. I I arrive at the Ayurvedic diagnosis of the case and treat accordingly. The professor who he treated, Nanal sir's diagnosis of the case was Asthimajjagata Vat, nothing to do with, because leukemia is considered in layman's as cancer of blood, but the Ayurvedic diagnosis is far from that, Asthimajjagata Vat. So on Ayurvedic lines the diagnosis can differ, likewise the treatment can differ, and the results are there to be seen. So that is the scenario, that we have to diagnose the case on Ayurvedic lines, and then only we will get the answers to it. Next. So we have to understand some of the basic principles of Ayurveda, on which Ayurveda stands. These are eternal principles, not going to change for further 5,000 years also. They are there for almost last 10,000 years. The Panchamabhut Siddhanta, the 5 basic elements which forms the universe. However advances the science will do, there will not be space for adding a 6th element. It is so concrete. These fundamentals are so concrete. Loka Purusha Samya Siddhanta is another basic principle, Siddhanta, laid down by Ayurvedic Samhitas, which generally treats a mankind or a human being as a replica of the nature. So whatever is going on in the nature is going on in your body also. You are the replica of that, a small replica though. So the changes are going to affect you definitely, and these days we are getting to hear that environmental changes, global warming, this and that is contributing to the incidences of cancer. Why? The answer lies in the basic principle of Ayurveda, because we are the small replicas of the nature. So whatever is going on in the nature is going to affect our health also. So what we can best do is we can protect ourselves. Tridosha Dhatu and Mala Siddhanta is another basic principle. Dosha Dhatu Mala Mulam Hi Shariram. We learn this from the first year. That these 3 elements, Dosha, Vata Pitta Kapha, Dhatu, Rasa Rakta, Mausamed, Asthimajja, Shukra, and Mala, Mutra, Purusha and Sveda. They are the mainstay of your body physiology. So any Vikruti, any disorder, dysfunction, any disease manifesting in the body is contributed to these 3 basic elements, and doshas are given the status of they first gets vitiated by their own causes, causative factors, and then in turn vitiates the dhatu and malas. So doshas are the main culprits. If they are in normal, behaving normally, functioning properly in the body, you are healthy. The moment there is dosha vaishamya, the imbalance of the doshas, that condition is called as rog, basically by Ayurveda. Rogastu dosha vaishamya, very primary concept. Another unique concept which will come very handy in treating the cases of cancer is the Agni concept. Nowhere in no other medical science, medical stream, you will find a parallel concept to this. Simply speaking, Agni means digestive fire. But this is like telling today's young generation that Virat Kohli is a batsman. He is far away from that. He is far greater than that. Likewise, Agni is not only responsible for digestion. The 2 factors that comes to discussion for whenever the patient comes to you with cancer is, first is increase my lifespan and improve my quality of life. These are the 2 basic expectations of the patient from Vaidya. And Agni is an entity, according to Charak Samhita, is responsible for various vital elements of your life. See how it starts. Little bit of Sanskrit shlokas will also come. Lot of students are also there. And I'm also have done MA Sanskrit, so it comes naturally to me. Charak owes all these bhavas to Dehagni. See, how are they? Which are they? Ayuhu, Varnam, Balam. Ayu, life. So the span of life, if you want to increase, focus on Agni. One thing. Varna, the complexion of your skin, the color of your skin. Bala, the general strength of the body. Swasthyam, the feeling of healthiness. Upachaya, the nourishment of the body. Then Prabha, the glow of your skin. All these bhavas are attributed to Agni. Ojaha, the vital or the prasadbhut bhag, the most precious product coming out of the Saptadhatu Pachan is Oj, on which your life stands. That is also Dehagni Hetuka. Dehagni Hetuka means Dehagni is responsible for its normalcy. So Oj, Tej and Agnayaha, other types of Agni, which are they? They are mentioned there. Dhatwagni and the Mahabhutagni. So whatever food we take, it is the Agni which converts that food into body nourishing elements and sets them onto the journey of Dhatu, Saptadhatu, where the representative of this Agni is working in every Dhatu, Rasa, Rakta, Mausa, Med, etc. It converts that nourishing part of Rasa Dhatu, Rakta Dhatu respectively into Sharirastha Rasa Dhatu, Rakta Dhatu, the body tissues, and the physiology goes on. Now anywhere there is abnormal behavior of the Agni comes, this is going to change. This metabolism is going to change. When the Dhatwagni becomes less or loses its power, it is said that the Dhatu becomes Vruddha. It is not normal Vruddha, but it attains abnormality. These nourishing parts of the Dhatu cannot be transformed into body tissues by the Dhatwagni because of its less power, and they remain in the system, remain in that organs of the body, respective Dhatu, and opening up possibilities of different disease getting manifested. One of that may be cancer. So we have to understand this Dhatwagni concept also, because cancers of different systems, basically they are understood in the form of enormous growth of abnormal cells. Abnormal cell growth, multiplication. But why this happens? And those cells are not normal, they are not accepted by the body. So they gets the form of a tumor or something like that. When these cases were initially coming to Ayurveda Vaidya, it was thought that it might be Arbuda, as told in the Ayurvedic texts. But as the Ayurvedic Vaidya is also coming, facing new types of cancers, the perception has changed. We cannot stick to only one diagnosis, only one concept. When I started working on the cancer research project, Sir Deshmukh sir has given me one pilot work on 6 basic diseases. He wants me to collect references from Samhitas. Arbuda, Vidradhi, Granthi, 6 were there. And I collected almost 1150 references were there in Samhita. Only Sushruta Samhita I have worked on. So those many possibilities are there, those many clinical conditions may come across to the Vaidyas for treatment. And action of Agni becomes relevant in all such cases. Jaఠaragni is mainstay and representation is done by the Dhatu Agnis on Dhatu level. But there is another third Agni type considered by Ayurveda as Mahabhutagni. So after the ignition of Jaఠaragni, this Mahabhutagni starts working and converts the nourishment into this Bhautik Sharir, which is made up of Prithvi, Aap, Tej, Vayu and Akash Mahabhut, the Panchamabhut, to which we have referred just now. The next important aspect of Ayurvedic basic principles is the organogenesis in fetal life, because that is a very unique thinking of our acharyas. How a particular organ has formed in the fetal life. Now, why this is important? Because it gives you some insight how the diseases of that organ are to be treated. And one common factor in all this is Rakta Dhatu or Shonita. You go through all the references, Garbhasya Yakrut Lihano, Shonita Jau, Shonita Fena Prabhavaha Phuphusaha, Shonita Kitta Prabhavaha Undukaha. You take any organ in fetal life, how it is formed, and one of the Dhatu will be Rakta. So focus should be on this Rakta Dhatu more, because it is involved. And there are references to this not only in organogenesis, but Charak and Sushrut both have devoted one full chapter to describe the importance of Rakta Dhatu. Vidhi Shonitiya in Charak Samhita and Shonita Vijnaniya in Sushrut Sutrasthan. Both. Sushrut has gone to the extent of saying Dehasya Rudiram Mulam Rudireneva Dharyate. Tasmad Yatnena Samuraksha Raktam Jiva Iti Sthiti. And Dallan, a commentator of Sushrut, explains this Mula as Utpatti Sthiti Pralayeshu. Utpatti, coming into existence, Sthiti, living a life, healthy life, and Pralaya, the death. Rakta Dhatu is responsible. Now these three phases come in the life of a cell also. Utpatti, Sthiti and Pralaya. So Rakta will have direct influence onto that. And there is another important reference from Charak. Prano Shonitam hi anuvartate. Tad Vishuddham hi Rudiram Balavarna Sukhayusha. Yunakti Praninam Pranaha Shonitam hi anuvartate. Pran, life, follows Rakta Dhatu. So if you want to work on these cells, you have to take these two principles into consideration, Rakta Dhatu and Prana Shakti. What is the status of that Prana? And you will find in many conditions, patient comes to you as his life is threatened. As his life is threatened. Other important aspects, I will not go in the details of that, just for sake of explanation I am taking that. Dhatu Sarata, which is again a unique concept put forth by Ayurveda. The status of different dhatu, Rasa, Rakta, Mausa, Meda, Asti, Majja, Shukra, in what state they are. And they confirm the bala, strength of the body. All the dhatus. And you get a very detailed description of this in Charak Samhita Vimansthan, Adhyay 8. And if you see the organs that are mentioned under the different Dhatu Sarata and the different kind of cancers that are coming up, you will find correlation between that. So when the Dhatu is Asara, it becomes vulnerable for diseases. So to protect yourself, you have to protect the Dhatu Sarata. Srotas is another concept which Ayurveda puts forth. It is far away from system. I will not say it is system. There are number of names given by Charak himself also to this. But Srotas is a very unique concept as put forth by Charak himself, in which the parinaman, that is the transformation of the nourishing part of individual dhatu and other important body elements, gets converted into absorbable forms. That is Srotas, to say simply. Again, when these absorbable forms are not in the form of identical cells which are existing in the body, they will be not absorbed by the body, they will take form of different diseases. That is also the concept. So Srotasas show vulnerability to different kind of diseases when this conversion suffers. So Agni and Srotas, Dhatvagni and Srotas will be very important factors into this. Prakriti, everybody talks about this, known by everybody. The body constitution, basic body constitution makes you vulnerable to certain kind of diseases if you don't follow the advices given by the Samhitas. It's not that if you are Vata Prakriti, you will get all the Vata Rogas in your life. Not like that. If the advice is given in the text is followed properly, you will not get. For that you should know your body constitution basically. Ahar, Nidra and Brahmacharya, which is told to be the triad of life, the Triskandha of our life. And you see in what fate it is today in the society. If you see Ahar, there are so many misconceptions. If you start talking on Ashadhi Ekadashi, on Ahar and the misconceptions and how to correct it, on Kartiki Ekadashi when Chaturmas gets completed also, I think you will be able to only cover the half the portion. It is so vast subject. We will think about it in very short period. So Ahar, Nidra and Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya need not be staying away from sex or something like that. But healthy life, healthy sexy life is the concept put forth by Ayurveda. Ahar and Nidra both are in shambles today. People, I always say, people earn money in lakhs and eat vada pav or burger, which the porter also eat the same thing. So what is the difference between you and a software engineer and a porter? Both are eating vada pav. The software engineer is eating vada pav because he don't find time from his work to go and have a sizable lunch. And the porter couldn't earn so that much money so that he can eat rice plate. So he is eating vada pav. On basic level, both are same, eating the same thing. So what is the use of such ahar? Is it going to help us? Fast food is what we say, curse of modern days, and it is giving rise to so many problems. Nidra, people are not getting sufficient sleep. Now it has become, there are researches going on how much sleep is required, and whatever we are taking traditionally, say in the last generation when the TV was not there or single channel zamana tha, people used to go to bed by 9:30, 10, and they used to wake up in the morning 5 o'clock, which is peak period of sleep. And now they are in front of the TV for 12, 1, anything. The IT sector is suffering on this account, especially those working in multinational companies run by USA, because when here there is night, there it is morning. So they work for the whole day here, and at night they start reporting to their boss who got wake up in the US. So practically no sleep. They go to bed at 3 o'clock, wake up in the morning at 7 and run to the cleaning work. So the problem of exhaustions are more. A new buzzword has come into this field as burnout. Burning out at 40. We listen to this word burnout after death. Now living people are getting burnt out on their own by work stress, deprived of sleep, proper sleep, sufficient sleep, which is considered to be triad of life. Vyadhikshamatva is another aspect which from Ayurveda point of view we have to consider in a different manner. Chakrapani, the commentator of Charak Samhita, gives two aspects of this Vyadhikshamatva in his commentary. One is Vyadhi Utpada Pratibandhakatva. The body's ability to stand to the onset of the disease. It will prevent the onset of disease if the body is in good shape. If the sharir is Vyadhi Kshama. And second aspect, Vyadhi Bala Virodhitva. The body's resisting power to fight with the disease. Vyadhi Bala Virodhitva. These two aspects are different and we are facing these two aspects in practice, clinical conditions. Sometimes it is the Vyadhi Bala which is more than the Atura Bala, that is Rogi Bala, the patient's strength, which puts so many limitations on you as a physician. You can't use medicines freely. You have potential medicines, but the Vyadhi Bala is more and Atura Bala is less. So what is left in your hand? Increase Atura Bala, Rogi Bala. And Ayurveda gets success on this account very well. Many times you will find, if you improve the general Vyadhi Bala, Atura Bala of the patient, he starts fighting with the disease more positively. That is the concept of Ayurveda on the account of Vyadhi Kshamatva. Next. Now I am referring to the diagnostic principles or methodology of Ayurveda. Again, Ayurveda has its own unique way of diagnosing the condition. I am not a authority to talk on modern medicine, so I am avoiding those things on purpose. My intention is to highlight the Ayurvedic point of view. We have our own unique system, methodology to diagnose a case based on Nidan Panchak, something called as Nidan Panchak. I think the time has arrived that the Ayurveda fraternity start using their terminology on each and every available forum, because unless and until they use it, people will not listen to it and will not be used to it. The word diagnosis immediately makes us understand what I am talking about. But if I say Vyadhi Nidan, it will take you some time to understand. Why this has happened? Because the Ayurveda fraternity is shying away from using their own terminology. So we should start using this. Whether the audience understands it or not, leave it. You talk 10 times, they will understand 11 times. Okay. So we diagnose the case in on these 5 accounts. Hetu, that is the causative factors. Now it is a Pandora's box. You get to see so many different kind of Hetus. When I started working on this cancer research project, I came across such cases where I come to understand this important part of case taking. Many times we say that that the patient is suffering from cancer of cheek or oral cavity, but he is not chewing tobacco, he is not used to any bad habits. How he got? Now who will answer this question? If you take the case properly, you can answer the question. Only tobacco chewing gives rise to oral cavity cancers? No, there may be other causative factors also. During that project, I came across one student or one just passed out graduate, 24 years of age, having cancer of floor of the mouth. He was not having any bad habits. Now what is the problem? Why he got that? When we took the complete case history, we came to understand that he was continuously indulged in practice of curd, fruit salads, and milk and banana, which is called as shikran in Maharashtra, which is very famous by the word shikran. He was regularly practicing this. Now Mukha is being a Kaphasthan. All these hetus, they are Kaphakara. Fruit salad, milk, shikran, that is milk and banana together, is considered as Viruddhana in Ayurveda terminology. And if you see the definition of Viruddha, it increases doshas in the body but doesn't eliminate them out. So they remain in the system, and such doshas in the system can open up so many possibilities of different disease getting manifested. One of that may be cancer of oral cavity, floor of the mouth. Why not? From Ayurveda point of view, we have to think on these lines, and accordingly the treatment has to be given. We have to consider in that case as kapha dosh as the pradhan dosh in the samprapti or pathogenesis. Another case I came across 1 year back in Goa. A lady around 50 years of age suffering from CA lungs, don't have history of smoking and anything. How? Now after taking her case, see, you develop this, I would say, art. People can say Vaidyas are doing Sambar Chaukasha. They are taking extra interest in your life by asking so many questions. Because we ask questions about their surroundings also. That woman's husband was running a bar just as besides her room, and the passive smoking may have been the cause. Passive smoking, we don't think of this. Active smoking, everybody asks questions. Because we ask questions. Do you smoke? How many per day and all? But what about passive smoking? How much it will contribute? Passive smokers don't know of how many cigarettes or bidis smoke they have inhaled. They don't know. One who is smoking on his own will tell you 15, 20 per day. But what about passive smokers? So that was pointed out as one of the cause. So you get this kind of causes, different causes. Another case, another experience. A patient who has suffered from CA prostate in 1983, operated for the same. After that he got some treatment from naturopathy, and he has survived till 1996. In 1996, when I joined the college, in the month of March or April, he reported with symptoms of anemia, we say, for which he was treated accordingly. For 1 month he took medicine, then he disappeared. And after 6 months I got a call from one of his relatives that you have to come to see him. He is diagnosed for acute myeloid leukemia. he was very particular. Since that episode of CA prostate, he was very particular, following all the food restrictions and all and all. How he suffered? I used to go to his residence. He was residing in Old Goa, Pilar. And while talking to the people around him, one day I came to know from his driver, see from where you get the leads. The driver told me that for last 6 months he used to eat green chilies. He was a contractor, PWD contractor. So he used to leave early morning, visit the sites, different sites where the work is going on. And during that, he used to eat raw green chilies. Now approximately, as per the driver's perception, maybe around 250 grams daily. And this has gone for 6 months. Now Ayurvedic students can understand. Ekantik, Ushna, Tikshna and Ruksha, Hetu and Rakta Prakopak. What it will do to the Rakta Dhatu of that patient. Completely burnt. He started getting Adhoga Rakta Pitta Lakshanas. His only daughter was to be getting married in near future. He wants to live till that, and somehow we succeeded in doing that. But this kind of hetu do come to your knowledge, and these are called, we can tell afterwards. I will take the classification of hetu. Pradhanik hetu. Vishadi only is not pradhanik hetu. This kind of hetu is dominating hetu. You don't have to consider any other hetu. Concentrate on this and act accordingly. Put all your efforts to counter this hetu. So hetu, causative factors is a big, again, very vast subject. New hetus are getting added to this. People don't know how it is going to contribute to their health, or how it is going to damage their health. Nobody knows. Purorupa or prodromal symptoms. In cancer patients also, they do come. But many times it goes unnoticed. A patient suffering from glioma came to us in comatose state. She was admitted in our hospital in a terminal stage, but she survived for 4 months. And in the history I got this, that she used to get bouts of headache 6 months prior to this diagnosis. Now they went unnoticed. If she had reported a doctor at that time, a specialist, she might have got diagnosed at an early stage, which might have prolonged the course of the disease. The life cannot span may have been better, but this happens. So sometimes Purorupa, they do come, but got neglected. Rupa, that is symptomatology, everybody knows. Upashay is another aspect of Ayurveda Nidan Panchak, diagnosis methodology. With what the patient is getting relief and with what he is getting trouble, or the symptoms increases. Based on that, we collect so many aspects of diagnosis. And the last part is Samprapti, pathogenesis. How the disease has manifested. Ayurveda has its own way of understanding how the disease manifested. Those were the days when the pathological investigations were not in hand. You have to rely on your clinical diagnosis. Even now also you see, all the pathological reports, radiological reports, sonological reports, they come with a bottom line, please correlate clinically. Why? If you have seen by using the advanced technology, still you want it to be correlated by clinically, that means clinical diagnosis holds its importance. Today also. though it is believed that the medical fraternity is more and more becoming dependent on investigations, still clinical diagnosis is as important as it was some 50 years ago. Because unless and until in each case you understand how the disease has manifested, you cannot revert the process. You cannot break down the formation of the disease. And that Ayurveda talks about in the form of samprapti, pathogenesis, how it might have occurred. Next. So the Hetu, this is a very classical presentation of Hetu. We need not go into the details of it. Next. So Ayurveda talks about, I always say to my students, remember 43322 number, which gives you the total classification of Hetu. And it goes through all the possible aspects of positive factors. It talks about improper use of sense organs also. It talks about Kala. It talks about Roga Hetu. It talks about Dosha Hetu. It talks about everything. So this classification is also again unique. You can cover so many aspects of causes into this one classification or modes of classification. So it's a very vast subject. We can't complete it within 1 hour. Next. So generally the samprapti goes through these steps. And one has to understand this in the light of the present disease which is coming before you. Yatha dushtena doshena yatha chanu visarpata nirvrittihi amayasya samprapti. That is samprapti. How the dosh has vitiated, how it has progressed, where it got the ideal favorable site to lodge on, and how the disease has manifested further. These steps needs to be understood in each and every patient coming to us, may it be of cancer or may it be of any other anukta vyadhi. There is a lot of talk these days in the field of Ayurveda about anukta vyadhi. People get fascinated by this word anukta. That means which was not told by our acharyas, which was not known by our acharyas. How it is possible? They have laid down the principles. You use those principles, you will find out the fundamentals of any disease coming today or after 100 years. So strong are the basic principles. So there cannot be anything anukta. Anukta is unsaid, unheard of, but not unknown. It is not unknown. It is known to. Names can be different. Roga Tattva, principles are not going to change. So this way the pathology will go. We have to understand after taking the case history, complete case history of the patient. So it becomes imperative for an Vaidya, if at all the patient comes with this large file, with all the reports of his previous treatment, diagnosis, etc., etc., it becomes imperative for the Vaidya to go through the case history again on his own terms. And he will find so many new aspects of the disease. Today, what is happening? People are making money out of the word cancer. It has become a buzzword. Relatives don't want to left any stone unturned in treatment. So they are running from pillar to post. And this panicky situation of theirs is exploited by commercially driven Vaidyas, I would say. Recently I came across one incident. I am talking most of the incidences which are happening in Goa. Leave aside the national scene. There was a doctor in Vasco who promised my patient and his relatives that she will be able to change bring positive change in his pathological reports within 3 months. Now patient relatives will show some more patience. They given her 5 months, and after 5 months also, symptomatically and pathologically, patient was at the same stage where he was 5 months ago. But the money spent on this exercise is 30,000 per month. So for 5 months it comes to 1.5 lakhs. No Ayurvedic diagnosis. Copy paste. Based on modern diagnosis, patient is treated with Ayurvedic medicines. This drug and disease formula is not going to help us in long way unless and until we cultivate this habit of arriving at a diagnosis from our point of view. We may not label the disease by name, but we will definitely understand the principles behind the disease in our own ways, and accordingly we can treat them. Next. Now the basic principles of management then comes into focus. Now many aspects of management we can think of. There are so many things. If you see products of Panchagavya, starting from there to so many medicines like Hirak Bhasma, the discussions are on. People are using different things on different kind of cancers and all. We have to understand the basic thinking or in the management of any disease in Ayurveda. Then we will able to give better results and will use precise treatments. Because when the patient gets diagnosed, he wants to take Ayurvedic medicines, he comes to us, doctor, I am suffering from cancer and I want to undergo Panchakarma. This has become a very routine case, routine query. I want to undergo Panchakarma. So they think that there is something like Panchakarma which you can undergo and come out rejuvenated. It's not that easy. Again, the word Panchakarma is wrongly propagated in the society. Applying oil, massaging the patient with different forms, and application of fomentation with different ways is Panchakarma according to the society's perception, which is a completely wrong understanding. Snehan Swedan, application of oil and fomentation techniques do have their own importance. I don't undermine them. Do have their own importance in treatment, but they are not Panchakarma. They are used before Panchakarma as preparatory procedures, but they are not Panchakarma. So many times in case of management also, this comes to, and we have to first educate the patient about this, that what is Panchakarma and whether you are at present fit to undergo all of them or not. That we have to see. Only the query comes, because Panchakarma can make you, again, commercially driven Vaidya will see the potential of getting money out of them. But whether it is advisable, indicated, otherwise why the Samhitas are discussing about Arha and Anarha, disease wise also and general clinical condition wise also. So we have to think on these lines. Every inquiry need not be entertained the way it should be. If the patient tells, I want to take woman, and if I give woman, what is my expertise? I am not a supplier, no? I am not a trader. Patient asking or a customer asking me for something across the counter and I am giving it. It is my prerogative to see that whether he is fit for the treatment or not. And many times this is not being followed. So people are suffering on these accounts. And then the blame came down on Ayurveda. That Ayurveda has spoiled the case. Spoiling the case can be done by anybody. It happens in allopathy also, modern medicine also. But the doctor is not blamed. Modern medicine is not blamed. But Ayurveda is blamed. So these are the basic 4 types of treatment. Samshodhan, that is purification. Panchakarma comes under this category. So only 5 basic purificatory procedures in which we remove the entities, dosha entities from the body through different routes are called as Panchakarma. Samshodhan, that is Samshamana, pacification, the other internal medicine which you use to pacify the doshas in the system. Ahar and Achar. This is the classification given by Sushrut in Sutrasthan chapter 1 at the start of Sushruta Samhita. You get this. So Ahar and Achar, which are many times the most neglected parts in management, highlighted by Sushrut. What diet the patient should take, and Achar on the behavioral aspect. You can bifurcate that as Vihar, that is the exercise, yoga, etc. part, as well as the for mental peace, what the patient should do on that aspect also. So physically as well as mentally, what it should be the behavior. That way we can split that. But this is the basic classification of management. And on all those accounts, we have to do comprehensive management of the patient. You cannot only give internal medicine and the patient will get well. Next. So Samshodhan, which is known by the popular word, buzzword, Panchakarma. In many conditions coming to Vaidyas for Ayurvedic management, there is greater scope for the third karma, that is Basti, Enimata. But it is not only given for cleaning of the bowels, which is the concept in modern medicine most of the times. In Ayurveda, Basti itself is a complete management. You can treat any disease of any system by Basti. And there is a long-ranging types of Basti, variety of Basti which you can apply. Many times we come across cases of CA esophagus or CA stomach where the oral route is almost blocked. Patient can't take anything from oral route. Now how to survive? Rectal route can be used, and it has been used effectively by the Vaidyas for administering different medicated enemas in the form of. Now dietary products also can be used very well, very effectively through rectal route in the form of medicated milk, in the form of medicated mausaras, that is mutton soups, which works 2 ways. Medicine also gets absorbed, works on the disease, and the dietary article which is given supplies nourishment to the body. So Basti should be more popularly used. Yapan Basti, Bruhan Basti, the names are becoming popular now. They are catching the imagination of the society also. Ayurveda talks about Rakta Basti also. Aja Rakta, blood of sheep, is given through rectal route for bleeding conditions. So there are vast variety of Basti which can be effectively used in almost all the conditions of cancer. So this is one karma which we can highlight in management of cancer today. Vaman Virechan, many times there is very little scope to perform these two functions, these two karmas, because the patient is already in a debilitated state. The general strength of the patient doesn't allow you to perform these karmas classically. Sometimes, if there is utklesh, what we say, the doshas are showing signs of going out, you can give Laghu Vaman, just 2-3 bouts of vomiting is enough. But classical Panchakarma or Vaman Virechan is many times not possible. Nasya, again, a very good and very effective way of treating the cases. Erhines. Nasahi Shirasodwaram, it is said in the text. So Nasya acts on the Shirasthan, acts almost on all the sensory organs which are situated in the Shirasthan. And again there are different modes, different mediums being used for Nasya. It will not be only in the form of oil, but it will maybe in the form of kwath, decoction, maybe in the form of churna, ghrita, taila. Different forms are used. So Nasya again, and can be easily done at the residence of the patient also. Raktamokshan or bloodletting, taking out blood through different measures, is again a very unique way of treating cases as per Ayurvedic management. I would like to share one clinical experience here. We have got a sister who was working in a reputed hospital in London, came down to India as she was diagnosed for retrobulbar glioma, and she was under pain, continuous pain. They suggested surgery. She was a faithful patient of mine. She used to come every year, stay in the hospital for 7 days and go back. She was suffering from lumbar spondylosis problems, and for that she got cure with our treatment. So she was having that faith that I will go to Shiroda, doctor will give me some different things. So she fly down from London to Shiroda in Goa. She stayed in the hospital, and with the help of Shalakya department at that time, we applied Jalauka. 5 minutes. We applied Jalauka on the temple region. The pain stopped. After a week or something, the patient was discharged, and when she repeated the scan, the glioma was gone. What to operate? Now Jalauka, in our text you find, it helps in removing the Avagadha Rakta Dushti. Avagadha means what? Rakta Dushti, or accumulation of Rakta Pradhan doshas. Don't put an equation, glioma is Rakta Dushti. I am not talking about that. What results we got from blood letting, that I am talking about. It sucks out blood and the condition disappeared. Till now, the patient has not reported back with the pain. This is, I am talking about almost 5 years back case. So Raktamokshan or bloodletting can give you miraculous results. Next. In Samshaman, internal as well as external applications, so many are there. Ayurveda is the richest medical science when it comes to application or mode of application in different ways. They are infinite, I would say. And you can innovate so many based on classical principles. Next. With the time limit, I will not go into the details of this. Next. One point I would like to talk next. So just some of the highlights of Antaparimarjan, Bahiparimarjan Chikitsa. Next. In Ahar, I would like to talk a few minutes on this milk diet. We prefer to keep the patient on complete milk diet when he reports to us for Ayurvedic management as far as possible. My Guruji Vaidya Divilip Gadgil sir, to whom I just referred, got success when the patient is kept on milk diet, and now he has close to 3,000 cases data of cancer, different cancers, who were kept on total milk diet and got relatively promising recoveries. Why milk is chosen? As all of us know, milk is considered in traditional Indian system as Purnanna, complete food. It's a complete diet. It gives you nourishment of all the sorts. Another thing is, it is in Ayurvedic terms, it is called as Ayushyakara. It promotes life. It lengthens the lifespan, improves the quality of life. Then it is Ajanma Satme. Right from birth, our first nourishing food is breast milk. So it is Ajanma Satme, habitual from birth. Apart from that, it is also Vrushya, Balya, Nitya Rasayan. Charak highlight this. Kshira Ghruta Bhyasohi Rasayananam Agryam. The topmost rasayanas for rejuvenators are Kshira and Ghruta, but Abhyas, constant consumption, continuous consumption of them. One of the theory behind using milk diet is also this, that the dhatu responsible for multiplication of the cells in the body, according to Ayurveda, is Shukra dhatu. Though Garbhodpad is considered to be the Sreshtha, the first or primary function of Shukra dhatu, the other times Shukra dhatu is responsible for regeneration of the body tissues, body cells. And milk or dugdha is called as Sadhya Shukra Karampayaha. It acts on Shukra dhatu, corrects the disorders in the Shukra dhatu immediately after taking, and helps in the long way. So this we are promoting more. And if the patient sustains to this, the results are very promising. The patient to which I have referred in the initial phases of my lecture, who was diagnosed for cancer, come to my Guruji Dr. Gadgil sir and survived for 12 years. He was on milk diet for almost 2 years continuously. So that is the results are there to see. Next, we are coming to the concluding, the end of this. Next, so important is what? Following the rules and regimens. We can't change the lifestyle upside down today. But subtle changes can bring about positive change in our health. Kala Bhojan, taking food at proper time, is very important becoming. When we ask the question to the patients, do you eat at the time you are hungry or it is lunch time for you? They get confused. Because they can't make out whether I am hungry so I am eating or whether it is lunch time so I am eating. So what is Kala Bhojan? When you feel hungry, you eat. And that is not happening. Order of consumption is being given in the text. That is not the subject of talk today. Next. But little bit of oil, ghruta, oil in little bit of form is required. Now the researches are coming out that the tadka, fodni, which we give to our curry, which comprises of haldi, mohri, sarshap, hing in sufficient quantity, protects the Indian society from getting cancers of GI tract. This is the research done in US, not in India. And then they found turmeric is anti-carcinogenic. And now we are consuming it regularly. But today, there is no curry in our lunch. Hardly hardly we are taking that, because we used to eat food like burger, vada pav, samosa as our lunch. So we are deprived of those. Next, achar or behavior. This is we are coming to the end of this. Physical exercise, nobody do. Vyayam, what is Vyayam? Regular exercise is a extinct thing now. People are getting now coming back to yoga and all. But that also is a fashionable thing. I do yoga. How much, when, that they don't know. When to do. People used to say, I go to walk. When? At night. If you are going to walk for exercise, it has to be in the morning, empty stomach. Otherwise it is not exercise. It is called as in Marathi, पाय मोकळे करणे. It is not exercise. On the mental aspect, yoga will help you, definitely. Physically also, yoga has tremendous effects. I am not authority to talk on that. Meditation helps in these patients to great extent, because the willpower of the patient is very important. The success of your medicine is directly proportional to the willpower of the patient. If he loses hope in life, your medicines will not work. So to keep him in good state mentally, some meditation, prayers do help. And the patient's self-control. Now on the milk diet, that patient survived for 2 years on milk diet. If that much self-control is there, the patient will survive. Next. So with that, I came to the end of this discussion. I thank the organizers who have given me the opportunity to share my thoughts with you. This is not final. I have just briefed you about the cancer and Ayurveda, how we think, how we should think rather. It's a continuous thought process. And and thank you for your patient hearing, and sorry for going ahead of time.